now that we have this deal for Geno Smith and the Raiders?
I think this is a great deal for the Raiders. When you look at the extension, you added on to his existing contract. You're looking at 3 years, under $40 million a year. That is outside the top 15 for quarterback salaries in terms of annual average per year. I think that's a bargain. I've talked a lot about Geno Smith and what he brings to the table. Last year was a down year from a production standpoint, but if you dig a little deep into the numbers, a couple of stats I think that are pertinent to Raiders fans. Again, only in 2024, Geno Smith was second league-wide behind Joe Burrow in on-target percentage and fourth in completions percentage over expected. What that shows, I believe, is that in some pretty adverse circumstances in Seattle in terms of the pressure and the lack of run-pass balance in that offense, he was, above all, an accurate thrower of the football. It is not surprising to me that in addition to Pete Carroll wanting to reunite with him, Tom Brady saw that and liked it and probably 100% signed off on this deal. I think they still have to continue adding to the offense. Well, I suspect in the first round they will add a skill player, but I believe they've got a lot to work with, and I'm optimistic for Geno Smith this year.
Mina, I see it very similarly. I think the offseason of stability for the Raiders continued today. First, they go out and get Pete Carroll, a stabilizing person at head coach. They acquired Geno Smith for a relatively fair price of a third-round pick, stabilizes the quarterback position, and as you allude to, a very fair average per year. Is he a top 10 quarterback? Probably not, but I do think with a better offensive line, and certainly not ideal at the skill players, but having Brock Bowers, you have a stabilizing quarterback for at least the next couple of years. I think it's a certainty they go skill players. A lot of people, myself included, think it could be Ashton Genty at 6, and now Pete Carroll may have his Marshawn Lynch beast mode player. We'll see about that. But this is another meaningful step in the rebuilding of the Raiders.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything they said. I found this so surprising. Because I actually purposely waited when this kind of all broke, because I was like, oh, you know what, I want to see what the herd does, what first things first does. They never talked about it. I waited, and I'm like, oh, that's, they talking about Drake May. What are the expectations for Drake May? And it's just like, guys, this is a real story here. This is a real thing. I think this is a home run for the Raiders. Because considering what they gave up to get Geno and now what they're paying him, this price point makes just 100% perfect sense because of not only what you believe you're going to get out of Geno, but this is what I kind of said before any of this was even really fully clear. I was just like saying that even if Geno shows his age very quickly, it's very clear that like, he's on the decline. Like the amount of money and the years that you're tied to him for, and even just the amount of guaranteed money that he got, it's without a shadow of a doubt he's your quarterback next season, right? Like he is your quarterback, he is your quarterback, he is your quarterback. So that's 1 year, right? Boom, done. Now let's say that 1 year is a disaster and he's awful and he's bad. One, you're going to be able to draft high, perfect. You're going to draft the quarterback now, and then you have this quarterback where you could either just cut. You have to have the dead cap money, but it's not like paralyzing. Lots of teams you have dead cap money. The Philadelphia Eagles, you find a way. The Broncos, you find a way. But not to mention, you would then still, depending on who you draft that following year, you draft him, and you maybe still, even though Geno wasn't great, you still maybe want him to be your starter to kind of still have your, depending on how young of a quarterback you draft, to be kind of waiting in the wings. Or you have him, and again, I'm very confident that the conversations they have with Geno is like, hey, we're going to give you a nice, healthy deal, but like also like, you're obviously not our 5, 6, 7, 8 year plan here. And he knows that. And Tom Brady knows that. Pete Carroll knows that. Chip Kelly knows that. Like, I have to imagine they're all on the same page here. And so when we talk about a bridge quarterback, to me, the real definition of a bridge quarterback is like not just some guy who's kind of like, there until you get another quarterback. It's like, no, like you're going to be the mentor. You're going to be a good soldier. Like you're going to be the guy that really also becomes like an extension of the coaching staff. Like, you're going to be that dude. And that is exactly who I think Geno Smith, is and can be. And I think he would be an amazing mentor and has just such a depth. When you're kind of a quarterback like the life that Geno Smith has lived, you are just filled with information to drop on a young quarterback. So again, even if his play goes disastrously wrong, you're still setting up to now really create an environment that benefits your next quarterback in line. And now, obviously, if it's a successful year and he plays pretty well, well, then you're getting at him at a very, 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 again, if he actually plays like a top 10 quarterback, then the discount that you're getting him at is massive, right? Is massive. So I love the guaranteed money. I love that the incentives, because if he hits the incentives, well, then he's worth all of that money. Then he's worth the 85 million guaranteed, or whatever the official final number is. Because then that means he is balling, he is playing great, he is doing his job, he's worth that money. And if all goes to plan, as long as the defense isn't a disaster, then then they should be like a a legitimate competitive team. And that's at this point, that's all you can ask for. So I love it. I really love it. I think the way how this all came together was well. They didn't have to give up like a random first-round pick or a second-round pick. They didn't sign him to this huge 4-year, $50 million a year contract with like 120 million guaranteed or something like that. Like nothing so crazy where you're just like, oh man, what are the Raiders doing? Not at all. They both are simultaneously planning for the present and the future. And the way how they're doing it is just so great. Because like I said, if their present ends up not being so good, they're not trapped in their future, and they still have the environment where if they now need to go get someone else in the draft, etc., they have the ability to do that, and they have the not the atmosphere, but they have the environment to be able to do so in a productive, positive, growing fashion, a fashion that's going to set your quarterback up for success. And again, like to me, that's as good as it gets. That I don't think you would have had potentially with the other potential quarterbacks you could get. So to be able to simultaneously plan for the future and the present, and sometimes you have to sacrifice your present to plan for the future, or sacrifice your future to plan for the present. They stuck the landing from my viewpoint. They stuck the landing. And when you see this deal, it just feels like everyone's going to be happy. Everyone's going to be content. And, it's going to be for the first time in a long time, it feels though that this Raiders locker room and this culture is going to be positive. It's going to be connected. It's going to be conducive to like actually winning football games, being competitive, being able to overcome adversity as you ultimately will throughout a season. I'm really excited. I love this, which is why I'm surprised that a lot of the other main shows aren't necessarily talking about this, because I think also that it's a great story. The fact of Geno Smith's kind of like whole career as a whole, and the fact that he's now been able to lock up this contract, and I think it all really comes full circle. And I think the fact that Pete Carroll is like, I want Geno Smith, and Tom Brady's on board, and Chip Kelly, again, that speaks volumes for just the type of person Geno Smith is, and his quality of play. It's why it always pays to be nice, literally pays to be a good person. And he's also the type of story that you want to see succeed, you want to root for, you want to see him do well. And I'll be honest, I'm still a sucker for those types of things. It's why I always love Hard Knocks, and give me the quotes and the music, and I'm like, all right, let's go. I'd love to see the Raiders be back on Hard Knocks now, actually, with Geno Smith and Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll, and I'd sign up for that in a heartbeat. I think that'd be really cool, actually. I know the Raiders haven't had the best of luck with their Hard Knocks, and with AB and Gruden and all of that type of stuff, but were they in Vegas? I guess I forget. I don't think they were in Vegas yet at that point. I can't even remember, honestly. I'm not sure. I feel like they weren't. That was so many years ago at this point. But yeah. No, this is great. I think this is perfect. There's just like, there's no notes, honestly. There's no kind of like, if I would have liked to see this or that. Like, I just think they stuck the landing, honestly. And I continue to be incredibly excited to see what this team is going to be able to do. I just love the stability that Pete Carroll is going to bring to this team as a whole, as well as the defensive side of the ball. I love what I'm anticipating Chip Kelly to be able to do with Geno Smith, who they draft. I don't know, man. It just feels like for the first time in a long time, the Raiders stock is actually going up, and it's not done in a way where you have to close one eye and cover the other. Like, you don't have to squint too hard to see that this is trending positively. All the other times you kind of had to maybe sell yourself a little bit more, and there was a lot of, well, if this and this and this and this happens, then we can do this, then we can do that. It doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like that. So I don't know. I'm excited. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Las Vegas Raiders? How do you feel about this contract? Are you excited? Do you think it's a good deal? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here. And I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.